Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. This is Shirley with Spirit of Matter, and we are today in a Saturn day and a Sun hour, with the Sun applying to conjunct Neptune, which I talked about yesterday, and the midheaven actually applying to, not really applying, but is closer to Deneb Algedi, which is a good time to honor Deneb Algedi. And Deneb Algedi is great when it comes to protect our boundaries. So, and for wealth redistribution. So let's bless the planet of wealth redistribution and healthy boundaries. And this episode is about um, something that is an old topic that I saw resurfacing. And yeah, why not talk about this again? It's very relevant, especially for the eclipse. And this is about the difference between cord releasing or cord cutting and outer planet works and eclipses. So, for those of you who have no idea what am I talking about, what is cord releasing and cord cutting? Well, basically, when you have been having, I don't know, thoughts or omens or signs or things coming up from people and relations that are no longer serving you. Okay, so you broke up with this person, and it doesn't have to be about a toxic or violent relationship. It could just be something that's like, we said goodbye, let's release that. But it can also be something more serious. And um, the practice of cord cutting or cord releasing is basically a sort of meditation or channeled meditation where a person either envisions cords between them and the person and then cutting these cords or releasing these cords, two forms of work, which of course cord releasing is preferred. Um, but then uh, what's expected to come out of this is basically to renew the energy, to release, to let go, to create a separation. And this is not a bad practice per se. Sometimes it is fit. But there is another option, and this is the option of actually working with the outer planets and working or allowing eclipses to take place. And the outer planets in a synastry or composite is that things that might tie you in connection or in thoughts more so than um, uh, more so than is expected by society. Okay, and I'll give example. When I was during the Me Too era, I had a friend that was also Me Too veteran, and it was 4 years her case at that time, and people were not understanding how come she did not just get over this issue of being hurt at work and so on. She was basically exposing a ring of stuff that, I'll just let Pluto and Capricorn to completely, zone fade out, and you will understand it yourselves. But the issue is, this was an outer planet issue. Yes, Pluto and Capricorn. And the expectations of society is like, yes, something not nice happened, you left, now, okay, let's start again with your life. Of course, this was way more than that. And this is outer planet work. Okay? Outer planets simply mean, if you have a connection, a relation, or synastry, or composite, this outer planet infused, it simply means that your relation is a part of a fabric of reality that is of a generational and intergenerational process. If you take, for example, Pluto in Capricorn, a lot of people had, oh, I have a narcissistic ex, and then we find out that there are people with ADHD that are doing masking and so on. And those type of relations, they were not the one thing, because you couldn't just go to a psychologist, do the model, whatever they had of grieving or something like that, and move on with your life, which takes time as well. But there was another thing. The entire humanity needed to wake up to what we now call psyops, and how is it practiced amongst people. Then gaslighting is one of them. What was this? Love bombing, yes. another one, and so on and so forth. Of course, now that there is um, a big war and many people are becoming in situations that are more and more susceptible and vulnerable, yes, we need a society that knows to identify these types of communications, right? And this is where outer planets work are becoming more, it's kind of like it's the long way, but it's also the short way. When you understand your relation um, is having something that is a bit deeper to tackle, and an astrology chart can show you, okay, if you have a synastry, what are the outer planet at place. So for example, I'll give another example of the Me Too. Pluto was squaring Uranus back then, and I met a person with whom we have Pluto square Uranus in our synastry, but Pluto was also squaring, I think it was, yes, my ascendant. But this person actually had Pluto that would be trining my Sun and my Venus. So, what actually was happening is that I was dealing with the Pluto square Uranus and my own Pluto square ascendant through a person that was vibing with this conflict, is not keeping me, not tackling the issue, but had a more nice affinity to my moon, okay, the sextile to my moon, the trine to my sun, the trine to my Venus. And so I could grow and I could shine and still tackle these very challenges on an intergenerational basis. And when I already knew that with Pluto, you work with these things by identifying what is the issue. Okay, so making spreading awareness to the communication techniques of people who were in his type of, I don't know, rank in the army or position in the academia. And it was not a personal thing, okay? It's not like, oh, this person is evil. No, he couldn't, if he wouldn't communicate in those ways or take part in those things, he could not be in his position to begin with, okay? And so I wanted to address that. And this is taking time. This is outer planet work. It is not a couple of months of grieving or understanding you're not to blame for what happened to you, which is important. It is taking time to identify what is going on structurally. And this is outer planet work. And then there are eclipses. So eclipses, yes, eclipses will take people away from your life and bring new people. Right now we're approaching an eclipse on a very relational sign that is Libra. This is going to be a lunar eclipse. And lunar is affecting us more on a psychological level, on a relational level, by the merit of the moon and by the merit of Venus. Mundanely, and I thank both Victor and Lada for that, is affecting the people rather than the leaders. Okay, but if it's also affecting the leaders, but on a more hidden level, as on the people level. Okay, that this is a person, they will also be affected, but it's not like the solar eclipse that we have in April 8th, which is going to be a tremendous shift of power in the entire world. And so eclipses, they take away or bring in certain type of relations as well that are fated. This is also why people discussing cord cutting or cord releasing at this time. And yes, an eclipse is very much like a cord cutting or cord releasing, okay? One day this person was in your life, the next day this person, maybe 10 years, maybe 14 years, maybe 20 years, no longer in your life, okay? So big relational changes. And they can be internal as well. When it was the eclipse around Taurus, I was sitting with a person, we were in a group of people, and there was the war and everything, and then they suddenly had these eurekas around. It's not suddenly, because things were coming up, and then they suddenly said something, or they suddenly cut a cord with someone that they've been tied to for years and years and years. And so there is both the issue of the sudden, that is the eclipse. Okay, suddenly this person is no longer in our lives. Um, Suddenly this relation is no longer. Okay, but there is also the outer planet work. And the outer planet work is really addressing the issue. Because that suddenly this person is no longer physically in your life doesn't mean, when before 7th of October, I received information from people that are not in my life for a decade. For a decade. And they were trying to warn me, this is coming, this is coming, this is coming. Sometimes they were acting a bit, not so in my favor as well. So both these type of people and those type of people. And this is where the outer planets play a role. Okay, your encounter was certain information exchange and energy exchange that is relevant for the changes that are going within your era, your generation. And you can also see how sometimes people that you didn't think of, people from the past, we're going to have a Mercury retrograde on the eclipse of April 8th. Okay, so think about people, and eclipses are around 18-year cycle of the return of the nodes. So think about people that 20 years ago are no longer in your life for like 20 years, for 18 years, 17 years. Suddenly you think about them, or suddenly they come up, they pop up, okay? With the solar eclipse, we've seen leaders that, for 20 years were trying to reach somewhere, then suddenly, poof, they become viral, they become in a point of power. In Europe, the right wing become in a point of power. And so the outer planets, they tell us more of what is the overall intergenerational theme. And this is where is taking time. And I said this over and over again, when it comes to the outer planets, this is taking time. If you have natally, your natal chart, the relational planets, so it's Venus, it's Jupiter, it's Mars, the moon, the sun, any of the personal planets almost, but especially the ruler of the 7th, the ruler of the 5th, okay, and the rulers of the ruler infused with outer planets. My darling, this is not a light affair, okay? It's not a light affair. It will not be a light affair. And if by transit you have outer planets to one of those, let's say to your moon, to your sun, it's not going to be, a fling. It's not going to be a fling. And this is not about, oh, this is a serious connection that you will be. It's not about the type of relationship, not at all. It's not about the type of relationship. It is about the fact that this encounter is a part of the fabric of reality that is intergenerational, and those fabrics take time. Pluto takes 20 years to Aquarius. 20 years. Okay? So you say, Shirley, what if this is happening to me? I broke up with my ex and now it's going to be 20 years, 10 years. Well, what I have to say to you about this. First of all, the fact that certain things are going to come up from this relation and accompany you for several decades even, it does not mean that you cannot have other life outside of this theme. But yes, if I'm Me Too veteran, it is 2024, things happened in 2016, almost a decade after. Yes, things do come up, okay, whether it's the cycle of Venus of 8 years from, cycles that are repeating and triggering these points again from another point of view and another point of view and another point of view. Yes, of course it comes up. Of course. Today I saw a video by Becky Meal, who is a sex worker, and I know about her from actually Rich BFFs that did something, talked about housing and talked about how this lady basically made a housing project that is affordable. and she did the fortune to do that from sex work. And she talked about a collab that she had, and then suddenly a lady that she collabed with starts telling lies about her and using these lies to exploit people into forced sex, into sex trafficking, basically. Okay, and so of course this is, this is almost a decade after I was dealing with those things in academia, and the conversations around us how to deal with sex trafficking. And so, do we want to all across the board ban on sex work, and what is the implication, and so on and so forth. Um, so those themes, those issues, of course, they still are prevalent, they still are present. It doesn't mean that you don't have a life. It doesn't mean that you don't do other things. It doesn't mean that you don't progress in your life. What it does mean is that, yes, this is going to take time. Yes, there are things to address that take a while, even if by the readiness, the preparedness of the soul to tackle, to meet those issues. That I would be speaking about expendable children, that literally everybody that twitters anything political, from leaders to, to whomever. Of course, this takes time. Yes. And this is so related to what the entire world is going through right now. It's not just the Islamic, it's not just the Jews, it is the praxis of expandable children by the people who are the local people of every place. Of course, this takes time, okay? And so, if you talk about Neptune related things, even more time. Aries related things, a century. So yes, there are those things playing out, and this is why cord releasing, while it's not a bad practice, if you do cord releasing, and I prefer the word releasing than cutting, then yes, you allow, for example, what is really bubbling underneath to arise. Okay, so you're letting go, but but things may arise. Um, and so at this time, if you're thinking, oh, I should do cord cutting, cord releasing before the eclipse, well, first of all, you don't need to do anything. The eclipse will come. Maybe do a salt bath. That's it. The eclipse will come and the eclipse will do it for you. Okay? But even with the eclipse, okay, my entire Me Too episode was around eclipses. It was when the eclipse with Rao was in Leo at first. Rao was in my seventh house and then it turned to Leo. Um, and when I would be writing Sugar Free Lemonade, basically it was in Leo. And then it reached Cancer, and I went to therapy by someone who treats childhood trauma. And the things that I will find out, that's one thing related to one thing, related to one thing, related to one thing, they are expandable children related. Okay, so also I want to encourage you, because sometimes you think, oh my god, this is never ending, why am I not moving on, why can't I rehabilitate? Well, darling, wait. Wait is what I have to say to you. Wait. Before 7th of October, I was joking with myself today, because I was like, until I was getting the hang of this relatability thing that gets people to listen to you, happened a war, and I am in a country that's seen by most of the world as Nazi. Okay, so no relatability in the world is going to help that, which, by the way, this is a relatability thing to do. So if you're trying to communicate with people and you don't know how to reach them, then relatability is basically kind of like talking about your authentic experience with something and sharing something personal that you wouldn't normally like speak about, and people find that relatable, apparently. I don't know. So and so I was thinking, until I get the hang of it. But before that, there were the Twitter blogs, there were really weird discussions, like in the community of like astrologers. There were many things happening, and that was kind of like a preparation. And also I was unappointable. And it was good because if I would be right now with the podcast, then, I saw colleagues that are way older than me in this profession, my age, but way older than me in terms of experience, as having a podcast. They suddenly had to shut down their comment section. If you have a podcast, you don't shut down the comment section. You want the people to engage, because people are vying for engagement, and engagement is eventually what sells. So you see people suddenly shutting down the comments, and I'm like, whoa. And not it's not just shutting down the comments, it's the people that you gave a stage to, um, annihilating you, or expecting you to turn against your right to exist or something like that. And so I was like, oh God, okay. So that's what's up. So that's why I haven't been booming with the podcast and interviewing everybody and so on, because that would feel like an even bigger betrayal. Um, Whereas sudden wealth, hidden wealth came from places that maybe were, it's not unexpected, but it's just people surprise you with their good judgment. you know, you're surprised also in these ways. And this is another outer planet related issue. So the eclipse, yes, is going to take what's no longer so. It's going to do the cord releasing for you, but you still have to work with outer planets. And to do that, you need to identify what are the outer planets that are affecting this discourse. One of the things when I was working, let's say, with Pluto obsession, and this is one of the I'm most grateful for this teaching because I have a timestamp of Pluto and Neptune in my chart very strongly. And when I was dealing with the Pluto obsessions, um, when I learned about this, then I was like, oh, and it's not about trying to get away or to cut this relation. It's about trying to understand what is driving this pattern, almost obsessive pattern, and do something about this. Okay, so for example, not to change the person who's not willing or desiring to change right now, but to turn to society, to turn to the community, to turn to other people dealing with such things. And this is also would later be a lot of teaching about dealing with outer planets, and just turning to the community. She once asked me if how to tell my story around this, and I'm like, yeah, I don't even know where to begin. I still don't. Okay, so yeah, the Me Too is one thing. Learning about gaslighting is another thing. um, uh, I have Pluto in the ninth house, so it basically means I learn another field of study from zero, and do it. It's like I learn myself, not because there are no teachers. Of course I learn from people, but I learn, but nobody forces me to learn. Okay, I don't register to a place to learn. I take the initiative to observe the knowledge and so on, um, and read those who came before me, which this is self-learning. Okay, this is not about like you close yourself in a room, and sometimes you do, but it's not about not learning from people. It's about that you are doing this not by somebody forcing you to do this. And so this would be my Pluto journey. Okay, whatever comes up, I learn about this, and then I have a teaching about this. And so, if it would come through a relationship, it's not about me forcing so and so to do this or to do that or to do that. It's about me mentioning the issue and then going to the community, going from the personal, also in research, from the personal, because it always comes from something personal, something deep within. You need to identify this and then go outside to the interpersonal. Then you also become relatable, yes? Um, so right now, this eclipse, we will have, I think, the aid of Pluto, because Pluto is in Aquarius and he's sort of a kind of a trine and sextile in the nodes, and this helps. You want to make sure where is it for you. For example, for me in the 12th house, so things to do with mental well-being, with clandestine power relations, because Pluto is also applying to square my Venus, um, with I don't know, those type of exile related, or refugees, topics to do with refugees, and so on and so forth. And so you need to identify where is this Pluto by transit, what is it doing, how is it interacting with your chart. This is going to be another great thing for you to understand. And when you get these things, when you get this Pluto obsession or this Neptunian longing, okay, Neptunian longing is also worth to talk about. I talked a little bit about this in previous episode, but the Neptunian longing is basically something is very present in its absence. You feel the absence of something, and so you have a longing. If you sit with that void, you're going to manifest a lot of of what is truly nourishing for your soul. Okay, so let's give an example. Sun is ruling my 6th house, and is also the house of pets. So I could feel like I'm longing to feel a love that is safe. I'm longing to feel someone accepts me as I am. And then my cat would come to me, and I'm like, oh, oh, okay. So you think about one thing, but also if you say if you're still in longing for something, you will identify this longing. And if you sit with the void, there are a lot of things manifesting for you. And this breeds authenticity about your desires, about your longings, about what is missing. And so this is where you also discover things. I talked yesterday about the great shadow banning and how we are all connected in the absence of communication that we feel both online but also outside, and those are still very present. So to bring this all together, am I against cord cutting or cord releasing? No. What I want to emphasize for you is that, first of all, this practice might not even be needed. Take a salt bath before the eclipse. Good. It's going to do the job. And even if you don't take a salt bath, it's going to do the job. If you don't have a bath, maybe this is what the eclipse is about. And so this is when it comes to, we're going to have a lunar eclipse in Libra, so relations upon relations upon relations upon relations upon relations. This is with Ketu, so we are releasing all relational baggage. This is good news. And not only that, if you've listened to Lada, it is around a fixed star called Xenia, which is about going from from a whore or adulteress to a saint. And if we take out a little bit the masquerade of like Christianity from this, it's basically, where have you been an attention whore? Okay. And it's not necessarily an attention whore. It can be like you were forced because of material concern or something like that to do something is not in alignment with your authentic self. It doesn't have to be like sexuality related. It can be your work. If you're doing a job to just gain money and you were compromising your authenticity, or your relations, your group of friends, your political opinions, or strategies, and so on and so forth, many things. It just means that it's not going to be a part of your life anymore. Okay, this thing that is not aligned with who you are authentically is just not going to be there. And this is also a great time to support more authentic relations. It usually goes by releasing that which is not truly. And the sun actually being with Neptune is helping us, because the sun is our personality, is our shine, is our presence. And this is where we want to be able to shine, to be able to be with to be who we are, whether it's in our workplace or with our relations or with the people or everywhere, to not compromise who we are, and to have people around us that don't have to compromise who they are around us. This is authentic compatibility, and there is a longing for that. There's a longing to shine, okay? Sun Neptune is a longing to shine, a longing to be authentic right before the lunar eclipse, which is going to be just about releasing that which is inauthentic from our deepest relations, from our home and even housing. Okay, Moon is housing on a mundane level. Moon is housing. You think about people who are in a relations with someone or roommates with someone because they need housing. It's those things, darling. And Moon, yes, is also the type of caregiving. So, or mothering or nurturing. And Moon Libra, we're talking about relations. So it can be it's by the way, it's not just about like, men releasing from women, and we're gonna have men that are going to be either someone is going to break up with them, or they're going to be releasing from the women that are not allowing them to shine in the right of their own self, which is good. But also from women, Venus rules sisterhoods. So the places where you didn't feel sisterhood, where you didn't feel this authentic respect and this authentic self, where you had to be someone else to be the friend of this person, women are going to be releasing from women. So this is going to be, it's not about a division or a conflict necessarily. It's just like, hey, this relationship is not serving me. This relationship is not serving me in the sense that I cannot be who I am with this person. Okay, hey, this relationship is not, I cannot be myself here. It's basically about, I cannot be myself here. If a place where I cannot be myself here, this is going to be taken away. Those type of things. And this is also the voice, and this is also, so you think about voice related things like even podcasts or social media, and even to some extent communities. Pluto in Aquarius is going to be helpful. It's like, hey, we can build a community where you can shine and be yourself. Those communities where you can't really be yourself, they're going to be taken away. Those relations, and where you can build a community that is more authentic to you. Okay, because Pluto in Aquarius is about also exposing hidden secrets of communities. I think about this, one of the memes I recently did on Twitter was the flower where you have the love me not, and I was like, sleeps with expandable children or doesn't sleep with expandable children. And just this weekend I was thinking of how much this issue has become prevalent. It was prevalent in my life, more so than I knew. It's more so than I was aware of. I wasn't thinking about this, but how close this was to home. Okay, where there's a family trying to find housing in the Netherlands, and a makler like trying to offer whiskey to me, 12 years old, because he thought my mother is coming to sell me for housing or something. Completely Dutch, not Muhammad. I think Muhammad the Prophet with the Aisha, that the memes that are running. So, hey, that's still on. What happened when I was 9 years old in Israel? The doctor tried to kidnap me, literally tried to kidnap me, and then somebody from the family interfered and said, "What are you disturbing?" So, what was he disturbing? Yes. And so this is not out there. It's not out there. And children should not have to be afraid to walk around or to roam around. They should not have to be sitting like this. You get very stressful children when they sit like this. You don't want to be next to them when they grow up or when they are children. They should be able to walk around. They should be able to um, play. They should, like, this is not supposed to be unsafe. Definitely not like in a hospital or when going to a makler to see an apartment. A makler is real estate agent and so on. And definitely like many other things. But I think about this also in the spirit of the eclipse. It's this very authentic thing where I state correctly, like this is a concern I have where literally every person who is a decision maker, who is prominent in their position, who is at the limelight, either has to be a member of a pedo ring or probably they cannot even have the limelight. And so I openly state, this meme was about openly, yes, openly state that. Is this person a part of the problem or a part of the solution? So that is, that's a big deal. And those type of things are not just a personal planet issue. Personal planet, the in-between planet is Saturn. It takes 28 years. So if you have Saturn-related stuff, yes, they do take time, absolutely. Or there can be a significant age gap as well, which is also taking time, okay? But the personal planets, then we have Jupiter is 12 years, and then we're talking about between 1 to 2.5 years, which is Mars. So normally, relationship, you grieve over it a couple of months, maybe a year, maybe 2 years, and then something new comes into your life. If it is outer planets, it doesn't mean that new things are not going to come into your life, but the things accompany you for longer time because what you are exposed to is something that is related to things that take time to change, like decades related issues. So, should you do a cord cutting? I prefer, if you do it, then do it with cord releasing. Is this the answer to saying goodbye and clearing up the energy? Well, it's not bad, but just if it doesn't, if it's not enough, then this is where I would look at something that is either the equivalent of outer planets in astrology. I'm not saying astrology is the only thing to look at, but definitely you don't want to have invalidating models of therapy or treatment. Okay, invalidating models of treating a problem are not treating the problem. They're simply dismissing data. It's unscientific. Okay, if there is an issue and you do all the things that are relevant to this model of tackling this issue, and this issue is not solved, then the model is incompatible with the issue. Like, people really need to get that. And so, outer planets in astrology is just another type of a model that covers things that even psychology does not cover. It doesn't negate other models. So cord cutting is not, or cord releasing is not, don't do it. If it's just like Venus, Mars, and you had a sexual fling with someone, you just need to clear up the energy. Go ahead, do a cord release. Okay, you'll be good. But if it's something deeper, then outer planet work can be one more way of understanding this. And eclipses can definitely be a way of understanding kind of a more fated events around relations. Not only relations, but definitely if it is touching on relations, and this eclipse is touching on Venus, then some goodbyes are fated, some hellos are fated. And with these hellos, I want to also signify that some of you will have a Pluto stamp to the hello. Okay? Why? Because Pluto is in connection with the sun and moon um, on this eclipse. It's a harmonic connection, it's not a bad connection, but Pluto related work. Think about Pluto obsessions, think about Pluto related work, transforming your relational patterns, even alchemically or magically, is very appropriate. So that can be done in many ways. You could even use astrological talismans that are pointing at those things. You have various magicians. Okay, so this is going to be on a relational level. A lot of goodbyes and a lot of hellos are going to be Pluto related, and this is where if you get into a relationship at this time, you need to understand that there's something. You could be even a bit of a Cleopatra, okay? And I want to talk about this. This deserves another video, but I will mention this already here. First of all, who was Cleopatra? And I don't know the entire story because there are many versions. But the thing is that she was um, having affairs with world leaders and changing the world map through these affairs. So it was not unusual. A lot of marriages at the upper echelon were and still are political. This was a way to have peace relations. This was a way to have diplomatic relations. This is not outside of the world. With this eclipse, I feel is very much appropriate that those types of Cleopatras in our lives um, are going to be living a less authentic relation, a place that they were doing more for political reasons. And you think that this is like a power play and so on. Sometimes it means a peace agreement with the country. Sometimes it means not deporting certain refugees. It means a lot. Okay, it means a lot. So it's not just about power plays for whatnot. Sometimes it's just those things that happen, and so it doesn't mean that the people are not in love. It means that the very intoxication has and eroticism has a political timestamp to it that is very relevant. Okay, with Pluto in harmonic aspect, those timestamps can be actually in a good affinity. So we will be seeing kind of like the Cleopatras of the world, or the Cleopatras in our lives. We're going to have perhaps hidden breakups or divorces, and also hidden or not hidden affairs or marriages. And this is again due to the shifting of power in the world, and it's preparing us in that way. Pluto serves as a transformator. Okay, so if you were in this type of kind of Cleopatra archetype, where you felt like and if you have this, then you know this, you feel like your affairs are political. Simple. Simply put, your affairs are political. You date with someone, then you discover they have aspiration to be leader. You date with someone, then you discover they had a hidden role in some place you didn't even know, and stuff like that. It's not about being a man or a woman. And if you have this Cleopatra archetype close, whether in your chart or not, you could look at Cleopatra asteroid, but not only, then this is where you really want to pay attention, because you're going to be releasing those type of relations that no longer serve, and you'll see, yes, the shifting in the power in the world is becoming prevalent. And so there are going to be goodbyes and there are going to be new hellos also around this topic. So Pluto is political, Libra is political, Ketu in Libra is highly political. So we're talking about changes in the juristic system, in the trade system, in the diplomatic systems, changes to the diplomacy. Those diplomatic relations that were no longer serving, they are going to be released. And we're talking about the changes to soft power as well. Again, the theme of Venus, Pluto, Venus, Pluto, Venus, Pluto. Venus is still going to be in tropical Pisces at the time of the eclipse, and she's going to be conjoining Neptune, so they're going to be a Neptunian flavor. And Neptune is that which is hidden. So we talk about clandestine affairs, we talk about deep longings and being with the longing. Conjunction is a hard aspect. So pay attention to the longing, even if you have a new relationship and you have a longing related to this with Neptune. What works wonderfully is being with the longing, being with the void. Neptune is about being with the void and address this longing in your life. At first, it would feel like a loss, something, or missing. Something is missing, there's a loss. And then you stay with that, you're actually manifesting wealth when you do that. This is how you work with Neptune. And so it is not impossible that you'll be releasing stuff, but still have a certain longing when it comes to relations, or longing for sisterhood or friendship. Okay, be with the longing. It has a very revealing nature, and yes, Neptune does have a quite high duration. I take you back again to when this channel was just channeling science, and before that I was doing manifestation tips and tricks, and I started noticing that certain things takes longer to manifest. When I learned more about astrology, I realized why. It's not that you cannot manifest, it's that yes, there is fate, of course, but it's not that you cannot manifest. It's that if you're manifesting for something that's related to a slow-moving planet, you are manifesting something that takes time to grow, and there's more information needed, and you grow and you evolve. With Neptune, think at least 20 years, think at least 2 decades. We're talking about, you think about the shadow ban and the identities of people being like very weird, or I identify as, and so on. This is nothing. Neptune is still in Pisces. Can you imagine what will be when Neptune goes to Aries, the sign of identity, the sign of the self, the sign of the I am, of autonomy, of the face as well. And we're already seeing like the deep fakes and so on. So we're just being prepared for something. What is present in its absence? This is the question you need to ask when something conjuncts Neptune. This is happening in this eclipse. So we're going to have a Pluto timestamp and we're going to have a Neptune timestamp. The Pluto is going to be the transformer, the evolver, the bringer of wealth, empowerment, wealth, relation. Neptune is something is present in its absence, because the Venus is going to conjunct, like the Sun is now conjuncting Neptune. Okay, what is present in its absence? I talked about this yesterday. Everybody's shadow banned. Just when everybody wants to say I am, everybody's shadow banned. Everyone. Okay? And so, and everybody, of course, is isolated. So they think this is only me. What did I say? What did I do? What did I say? And so, no, it's not only you. It's not only you. But what is present in its absence? And this is something that you need to pay attention to. So, for example, if you have not been truly authentic with people, or have not got the chance to be who you are and be appreciated for who you are, so something is going to be taken away from you. Also on a community level, because Pluto is in Aquarius, and Pluto is about community. It's about exposing hidden communities. I want to tell you a story about this. When Pluto was in Capricorn, Capricorn is my 11th house. This is my community house. And after the Me Too, I went into the sex education, sex positive industry. And so there were everything from people that were doing like, how do you say that? That are surrogating, to people who are like selling courses, like I was, to people who are actively teaching people how to masturbate by showing them this is the clit, this is that, and so like really everything from everything. And the thing was, with COVID, I began to actually be making profit from these communities. People began to know me, people began to look for my services, for my word of advice, and so on. And this is money. But suddenly I had I began to feel a couple of things happened. I began to feel I don't, I don't belong. I don't belong. Or I have an argument. It was Me Too related argument with someone that was bringing a huge team of experts, and I was one of them, which was very weird to me. And so apparently what would happen, I would fight with her and I lost tremendous business opportunities. And then something in another group happens, and very weird things. And what would happen is that one of those people that she brought was a serial rapist who raped hundreds of women in this sex positive industry. Okay. And that was like, oh. So before that, I felt, why am I so betrayed? Why am I so isolated? Why can't I get along with people? Why do they come up with these such weird arguments and so on? And I was like, oh shit. Thanks God I'm not like in the pinnacle of this community or associated with this person. Um, and that was like, yeah, I had enough with the Me Too Academia. I didn't need more. And so when it got to like the astrological community, I was like, I'm not even that much, involved with this. And then, of course, came 7th of October, and I live in Israel. So, half Israeli, half Dutch, mind you. So, yeah. So, right now we have a similar thing, and because Pluto is in Aquarius, some hidden communities are going to be exposed. Look for this, okay? Some hidden communities are going to be exposed, and many of you will have some luck because you felt like, oh, I'm not included in this community. Nobody pays attention to my post. Nobody's looking for me. Nobody's engaging with my work. And then you find out you are the ugly duckling who did not align with expendable children. You're like, oh, that's what's up. But this one, I don't know if it would be around like children to everyone. Although there is this reception between Venus and Jupiter. Jupiter is in Taurus, Venus is in Pisces. And but this is also where where things to do perhaps with women and relation to women are going to be dramatically exposed. Okay, as Me Too veteran, I so advise you to take 1,000 steps back from anyone that you feel and you're going to feel, what you're going to feel actually is that you cannot be yourself, fully yourself around this person or this community. And this, when I get to see that, I'm like, oh yeah. There's an oh yeah. What you're going to feel like, I cannot be myself around this person, around this community. If whenever it is within your ability, take 1,000 steps backward, withdraw, and just wait. That's all I gotta say. Just wait. Just wait. But also you have to ask yourself, what am I doing in the Libra aspect of my life and perhaps my Aquarius aspect of my life where I'm not fully myself? This is also something you'll need to ask yourself, and it will be very benefic, and you have a good chance to deal with this in a benefic way. Venus is going to be conjunct in Neptune, so you need to be with the longing for something, that this is not filling up, this relation, this community is not filling up that need authentically. Okay, you're going to be more and more frustrated. So when this finally is released from you, you're not going to be as, how should I say it? It's not going to be a big crisis for you that it's gone. Because you said, like, anyway, I couldn't be myself. I tried this, I tried that, I tried to show more sides of me, maybe. Or I tried to compromise, or I tried to improve my communication skills, was not working, and then, comes the eclipse. So, this is what I have to say, and this eclipse does have Pluto and Neptune as timestamps to it. So again, cord releasing, cord cutting is partial, is personal planets related. And this eclipse, we are talking outer planets, and we're talking Pluto and Neptune. I have Pluto and Neptune stamp. I'm one of your go-to people, probably, to have Pluto and Neptune. Another person who is go-to other than Lada Tuncheva, who is tremendous, anything Pluto related. She's tremendous about this. And also Neptune. She understands Neptune, and she understands 12th house as well, which are both related and unrelated. But another one is Truth in Aspect Astrology. She has great Neptune teachings, great Pluto teachings. Totally go there. Even go to the ages old videos, the decade old videos. They are coming back. They are coming back. Okay? So watch that. Watch that. Anybody with Neptune Pluto timestamp that is doing the Neptune Pluto remediation, watch these people. They're going to become very relevant on your journey. Okay, do not be tempted with this eclipse to take any type of model or advice that offers you quick solutions. No, this eclipse is with Neptune Pluto timestamp on Venus. The ruler of this eclipse is conjunct in Neptune. What quick solutions, darling? Neptune with Neptune. With Neptune. No, this is a couple of decades. And so, but also do not despair. The fact that something has a timestamp of a couple of decades is something that you're dealing with doesn't mean that there is not other things in life that are going to accompany you, or are going to be a part of your life, or are going to be providing you a lot of joy in life, or that this very thing is going to provide you a lot of joy and wealth when you are spending time with the void. The more you are able to do that, okay? Let's take technology, for example. We're going to have Mercury retrograde in April 8th. So technology, let's say you try to withdraw from your phone, and then whenever you try to withdraw from your phone, you feel like either you're feeling anxious, or the reason that you were so hooked to your technology or your phone is coming up. Just tend into it, darling. It doesn't mean that you have to be with the impossible right now, but just tending to it, understand it. Oh, I understand why is this happening, and set intention to transform this, to change this. It will be happening. It might not be in a day, but it will be happening. There's a deep longing. There's something that's missing so deeply that you didn't believe that it could happen for you. And this is the wealth of Neptune. It brings you miracles. It brings you the things that you didn't think could happen. But if you are not authentic with yourself, which all of us are on a journey to be, then you will say, oh, I didn't believe this could happen. Something happened to me. There's along the lines of that. And so I didn't believe this could happen. And then you lose your entire authenticity to preserve that. And you're afraid to let this go. And this is okay. This eclipse is going to take that away and bring something better. But yes, Venus is going to be separating, I believe, from Neptune at this time. So it's a new synodic cycle. And so this is the good news, because while you're still going to be longing for things, you're going to be on the path of fulfillment as well. So anything you say goodbye to right now will be replaced with something that's way more relevant and way more authentic. And you can start getting excited about that, because there's something to be excited about. And so, but then be with the void. If you feel like, oh, finally I have this and this and this, oh, but this is not happening, be with it. This is not happening. If this is not happening, is important that this is not happening. Oh, it's only that, be with that thing. It's not about complaining, because it's not you complaining. It's about you staying with yourself and with this void. And you'll discover with Neptune, it's not a petty thing that you are aspiring to. And just to show a little bit of my Sun Neptune work, I was working with the Thema Mundi, the butter, the benefic butter, I call it, by Caitlin Kopok, with the elections from Austin Kopok. And this was a work that I was doing around the sun, okay, in sun and solar figure. And I was doing it at the yard, and things came up regarding solar figure and the relationship between fathers and daughters that were like, oh my God, I didn't even know that this is affecting me or my ancestral lineage and my family. Like, of course. Of course it does. Like, of course. Um, and those things that were coming up were things where I could be with that void, and I could be with things, and I could be with the discomfort, and so have a little bit of progress regarding that. Of course, it's a Neptune issue. You get the time step of something missing around the solar or father figure. Of course, it takes time, but it doesn't mean that you cannot be with the void and you cannot gain the wealth and the richness of experiences and the releasing of stuff by just being. Simply, just being aware, just being authentic. Hey, this is missing to me. This is something that I want to feel. This is something that's important to me. And yes, it takes expressing ourselves to, and sometimes you express yourself to yourself, and this is a part of this. So it's still ongoing with this eclipse. It's definitely relevant for the code cutting, code releasing, stuff like that. And the good thing about cord releasing is that it made people more aware of like energy and the facets of reality that are becoming very relevant at this time. It's not just, people awakening to the fact that they can communicate in all kinds of ways or have experiences in all kinds of ways, but it's also making us aware that you're not imagining, and the role of imagination is huge, because imagination is both how you manifest something and also the understanding that you're not imagining, okay? And so imagination can be a sort of escapism, but this escapism can be a sort of manifesting. So if you think about like your dream life, yes, or manifesting your dream life, but to do this authentically, this is your dream life. It's not everybody who's watching on Instagram's dream life. It's not your captions on on your videos dream life. It is your dream life. So this is where you sit with yourself and you sit with that Neptune and you address the void. Oh, this I like. And also the yes. Also the yes. It's like, oh, this I like. This I want. I kind of like this chemistry. I kind of like this energy. I kind of like this interaction. I kind of like this support of my goal, of who I am, and stuff like that. So it is very it's very pivotal time, but it's pivotal with a lot of potentials and opportunities, because Pluto and Neptune are going to be so important to what you're starting now. Then I want you to begin to get to know these things, or get to know the equivalent of these things, which I don't know to tell you, because I'm doing it in this way. But if you take one thing from this, is that you're not ending and opening a cycle of 1 day or 6 months. And also the eclipse duration is going to be like 12 months or something. You can watch Gracia Tasio about that. So the effect is going to be like a whole year, even though it's just one eclipse or two eclipses. So it's important to keep in mind that we have an outer planet timestamp to everything here. It's not a 1 day mission, and it's not a personal planets alone type of things. If you have attractions, Venus, relations, moon, um, affairs, or something like that. And you know, Uranus is in Venus sign. Unconventionality is going to be a member of this. Yes. Then is be prepared. It's not about just you and that other person. It's how it plays on the fabric of time, and being aware of this, and also not forgetting your personal longings. I repeat again this Cleopatra archetype, and the Cleopatra archetype is super relevant because we are ending relations that are political and also on a mundane level. Yes. And we are beginning new things that are political, that are of community, that are of humanity, that are of science, Aquarius, that are of touching eternity, Neptune, but also of medicine, again, Neptune. Um, uh, uh, yes, spies and intelligences, again, Neptune. Um, and those things are, they have duration, of decades. And it's also important to remember the place of us, which is the personal planets that are closer to kind of like the everyday people, when it comes to these things. um, Remember that the people that you think are up there are just people, and the people that you think are down there are just people as well. Okay, so person who is unfortunate, or a person that you think is way fortunate, they are still people. It's not, we should not idealize either those who are lower down the rank, or marginalized, and not those who are in the mainstream, as well. Is very important. Neptune does deal with ideation and evaluation as well, with the letdown. Oh, thought it's going to be like this. Oh, it's not like this. You could have ideation for whatever touches Neptune. So whether it's women, Venus, or now the Sun, leaders, fathers, and so on. But you can also have a deep longing. You can have an authentic sense of shine and satisfaction, or relation. More thing to do around this Pluto Neptune themes that we're going to be dealing with. Well, energy, I already said, energy on the Neptune level is kind of like, I feel energies, I see dead people, I see people that are alive. Okay. And the energy on this very like physical, biological, Pluto in Aquarius, kind of nervous system, the cells in the brain, the core of the unit of analysis. And Neptune and Pluto are sextiling, so there's connection between them. Ideas that you have right now will have longevity. This is important. They will, even if you don't do or act around them, they will still have longevity. They still grow. But yes, if you can act on them, this is even better. Decisions that you're going to be making as of the eclipse are going to be way more authentic and way more aligned with the you that is you. And a lot more people are going to be aware of these long-term effects surrounding relations, Venus, even housing Moon, and also Saturn related, because Pluto is Saturn ruled and Jupiter ruled. So yeah, people are going to be more aware of long-term themes that play in their relational life, in their intimate life, but also in their diplomatic life, and in business or career or trade. And so with the placement of Saturn in Jupiter's sign, think about optimism, belief, faith, reality check, boundaries. Boundaries to the dream was something that I was literally running into in the mental health discourse, which was very interesting. Um, and this is more on the be acquainted with Pluto and Neptune, be acquainted with beginning to work with them, and those are decades, decades. But the wealth that they bring is the wealth that accumulates upon decades. Okay? So, and wealth is a big thing. Wealth can be your mental, I don't like the word resilience, it's being used as gaslighting now, but mental sense of center. You're feeling centered, you're feeling, it could be like the eye of the storm a little bit, okay? This can also be mental wealth. Um, liquid assets, yes. Neptune, okay, having clear water, pure water in your sink is huge wealth. Okay, when I was in between houses, I walked and I had to flee from a place that I was staying, and then I was going through a field where they have trees, and the water were, how should I say it, they were not coming from a clear pipe. So I was like, oh, this is what they water our fruits with, and these fruits go to export. So that's the water. That's the water that are available. This is what they use, and so this is interesting. Okay. Although when I was trying to grow food, growing food, I was trying to get the clearest, purest water that I can possibly get to nourish them. And I was doing this cooking with magnesium, and so the levels, so a little bit of nourishing to the soil and stuff like that. So yes, you can imagine the difference. Was by chance, I was just escaping a place that I was staying at that began to feel unsafe, and walking in the fields with no water. That was the water. It was like in a Mir Costa Rica movie a little bit. But yes, I'm still here, fortunately. Any more preparation for eclipses is really, it's going to be. You don't have to, eclipses, you don't have to do anything. Eclipses, the sky takes care of it. What you want to be paying attention is how to be responsive to what's going to happen. And the themes are already coming up. We're already in the shade of an eclipse. What is coming up? Remember the lines that I said. So relations, the Cleopatra archetype, political aspects, science aspects, medicine aspects that come into the facets of relationship, of sisterhood, of housing, of food. What's coming up for you? And if you feel like, oh my gosh, this is so many things, because we're already a little bit in the shade of the eclipses as well, and they have a stellium in Aries, so it's a lot of things together. You are not imagining. And sometimes to not get overwhelmed is simply to sit with this. Yeah, another thing I heard is that people, this is very interesting because we have around Passover eclipses, and this is just an information that I recently learned, is that people used to not keep even food or old like clothes from eclipses. I don't know if clothes, but food or things that were cooked around before the eclipse, they would not eat from them, and they would so much so make sure that they change the energy and not keep something that was created like before the eclipse. Interesting. But this is just how people saw this. Okay, the entire energy is shifting. So certain things perhaps are like not relevant to what was before, and you don't want to hold on to the past. Another thing from another point of view I found out about Finnish culture is that they say that you cannot have kind of like a new life with old things, although at the same time they do like keep the boxes from the food and they reuse them. So it's both about letting go of things and not keeping what is not necessary, but also of preserving things on the other way that people don't keep. So it's very interesting. And yeah, should I go sign by sign? I don't think I should. I did other videos around these eclipses. There's a ton of stuff. I think it is more important to understand that this is one of those eclipses that is very tied to long-term themes in relations, mundane and personal, and do not expect the models that work for other, the models around the psychology or the medicine or dealing with relationships, mundane and personal, are going to be transforming as well. Do not expect, if you're dealing with a relationship issue, do not expect the existing models to be suffice. Okay, this is including Neptune and Pluto themselves. Okay, because they are tied to this eclipse, we're going to be seeing them a bit differently, and we're going to have new teachings about Pluto and Neptune as well. So we should all stay tuned and see what comes up. Thank you for watching.